Hitmontop has not been a viable Pokemon in competitive singles ever since its introduction in Generation 2. However, in Pokémon Sword and Shield, Hitmontop managed to break the competitive tiering system, despite not being a great Pokemon, and Smogon even implemented a new rule because of it. So how did that happen? In Gen 8, Hitmontop was placed in the NU tier, which is one of the lowest tiers in competitive singles. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with how the tiering system works, there are several tiers where Pokemon get placed based on their usage. And every so often tier shifts happen and Pokemon rise up or drop down a tier based on their usage, which has to be a minimum of 4.52% in a tier. Originally, Hitmontop was in a tier below the NU tier, which is the PU tier. But Hitmontop moved up to the NU tier because a small group of top players in the NU tier started using it a lot, which contributed to the minimum required usage, even though it's not that great in the NU tier. Take a shot every time I say tier, I dare you. Now after that, Hitmontop started to get usage in the RU tier as well. And more people started to catch on to this, and players on Reddit and big competitive Pokemon YouTubers like PokeMMD started using Hitmontop in the RU tier, and I even encountered people using it in the OU tier as well. Now Smogon started to catch on to this as well, and put out a post talking about how to prevent stuff like this by increasing the required usage percentage in a certain tier. This idea didn't go through, however, and about 2 weeks later, the Tiering Policy Council decided to implement a new change that prevents Pokemon from rising up in the last 2 tier shifts of a generation. I guess you could say it got Hitmon stopped. No? No. I didn't make that one up though, so I'm not taking credit. The reasoning behind this is that Pokemon rising up a tier at the end of the generation can potentially harm a lower tier during that time, and fixing that would take a lot of time that simply isn't there. With drops, this isn't as much the case, since drops can be easily banned if it starts to terrorize a lower tier. Did you know that this isn't actually the first time something like this happened? Ambipom actually managed to do something similar about 5 years ago. Check out my video on that if you haven't already and want to learn more about that. So hit a like in the video if you enjoyed or learned something new, and let me know your thoughts about Hitmontop breaking the competitive tiering system. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.